The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to the Great Debaters Contest. We're here in Nyeri region, and I am your host, Austin Nyumbok.
I'm Mariam Bishar, and we have an all-ladies affair for you today. OLC Mugoiri girls goes versus Kangubiri girls, and the motion is a relatively simple one, but touchy. Should education be privatized? We'll let the debaters take the stage now. Poser number one, you have 3 minutes.
It was the government's intervention that perhaps saved us all. I suppose that if this story has a beginning, then it begins with the government granting us the gift of education, the gift of ruling it, and the gift of deciding what's best for us. That is perhaps why some of us are here today, because of that chance. Ladies and gentlemen, Evelyn Moore here before you from OLC Mugoiri Girls, here to propose on the motion, education should be privatized. Now, before we continue, let me first give you a synopsis of this motion as we give it justice. What is education? Education is the activity of teaching people in schools, colleges, and universities, and all the policies and arrangements concerning this. What is privatization? Privatization, this is the process of transferring ownership, enterprise from a government, or in this case, the government itself, from a public sector to a private sector. And this private sector can be the NGO or even the individuals themselves. Now, what we're saying is that education, the ownership and the management should be controlled by the individuals. Now, as I come back to what I had started about the government's intervention, yes, we respect the fact that they've been there for so many years and they've really stood with us all this long. But we need excellent results. That is why we're standing for privatization of education. Point number one, excellence. Excellent results. This is when we transfer it to individuals, we direct it to personnel. You see, when a private institution is in charge, their sole interest is to get the best results. Best results mean they even earn the profits. Now in this, there will be close monitoring of the students and the teachers to give the best results compared to the government when they take care of those results. Hence, there will be better results in our students. Talk about competition. Now, if you let your child to go to that private school, and you have to ensure that she or he will get the best. You'll follow up on the assignments, everything else, co-curricular activities, and etc. Now, when we follow up this, we'll be an assistance to the teachers themselves. And as you can see, if the teachers and the parents work together, there'll be competition. Why? Because the children, or the students in this case, will have a competitive environment. They will be motivated to do the best, to be the best in everything. I rest my case.
Okay, opposition, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements.
Well, here I come. Martha Rogoro being my name, Kangubiri Girls High School. I strongly oppose the motion, education should be privatized. First of all, I would like to make it known to my fellow opponent that we do not go to school for competition. We go to school to learn, to acquire morals and ways in which can help us to survive in the outside world. That is why I don't think competition should be the case here. We are looking at what the students in Kenya will get after going to school. And these schools, the best, are the public schools. Why? Private schools, just like she has said, will have individuals who will control these schools. This is what we don't want. Since if you have people who are controlling a certain school, they will do it according to their own motives and not the motives of the students. On to my first point is that private schools give students mental pressure so that they can acquire high scores to attract people to these schools. This is what we don't want. We don't want it to be a matter of who is the best and who's not. This is about how much you get and how much you learn from the school. The other issue is on privatization will discourage innovation in these students. When you look at the private schools around, they don't take part in co-curricular activities unlike in public schools. Private school students are spoon-fed unlike their counterparts in public schools. When you spoon-feed these children, they'll not get to be creative and open up. They're not going to give back to the community what comes from them. This will be, what they will give back will be from what they are given in school. We want people to stand on their own. We want these students to be able to create something out of their own innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear rebuttals now. You have 3 minutes.
I know that education is the key, but I want to make education a better key. Not a key just to any door, but a key to the door of success. Jedidia Nyambura is my name from OLC Mugoiri Girls, and I am here to strongly propose this motion that states education should be privatized. Well, my opponent, you have just told us about us going to school to learn. I ask, what is the impact of going to school just to learn? I am an eagle. I soar high. I do not just soar anyhow, but I go to higher grounds. I want to take my education levels not just to the normal, but I want to take it higher. And that is exactly what we will do when we privatize education. Then you talked about co-curriculum activities, and you say that private schools do not participate in co-curriculum activities. I want to ask, Pioneer Girls, are you here? Yes, you are. Now, isn't this a co-curriculum activity? I wonder. Anyway, back to me. Now, privatization. As I said, we are eagles. We soar high. And exactly what we want to do. We want to take education to a higher level. We do agree that the government has done so much by providing free education, but we want more than that. We want to take our education. We want to make this country not just a third world country. We want to take it higher. And how exactly will we do that? By making education private. Look at the advantages of privatizing education. The social amenities. Not the social amenities, but whatever we have in our schools. When we have a private school, we know that there's so many things that we do have in private schools that we don't have in public schools. That is a fact that we cannot deny. Look at the strikes. Last year, there were so many strikes. Now, let's just compare. Which schools had more strikes? Is it public or private? That is a food for thought. Privatization is the key. Let us make education not just education. Let us go higher. Let us make it a better place. Let us make our country the best of the best. And how exactly will we do that? Privatization. And I repeat, I am an eagle, and I soar high, and I would like my country to become an eagle just like me. Those of the opinion say aye, and those of the contrary say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
Masu Njiko, Kangubiri Girls, here to oppose the motion, education should be privatized. The first point to my opponents, I'll ask you, which parent want the child to fail, whether in public or in private? Many of you here, 80% of you are in public school. Do you mean that your parents are so irresponsible that they want you to fail because you are in public school? Why? So many schools this year have not gone for strike. This is because the government in area areas did not have the right strategies to go ahead with the Ministry of Education. But why? Are we not today experiencing the strikes that we had this year? Because the government has tried to solve the problem. So come round to the public sector. Then my first point is that if we privatize education, the Vision 2030 will just be unrealistic dreams to us. This is why we are aiming that our country, by 2030, one of the aims is that by 2030, most of our country people will be literate. But when we privatize education, how many people will afford it? How many people will be able to come to acquire that education? Food for thought. I accept that my opponents, you seem to be from very well-up backgrounds, but please spare us for a moment. Because if you privatize this education, what will happen to the people from the poor backgrounds? What will happen to those people who don't have the ability to pay for the private sectors? They'll end up in crime activities. They'll end up not acquiring education. They'll end up being in life in a mess. So, cross over to my place. Then the next thing, inequality. It will lead to the inequality in our country. We know for now the gap between the rich and the poor is very big. I accept that. But we know that the rich people, is that tax is what we use to pay for the public education. So the rich one are taxed high than the poor ones. They assist the poor to pay for the education. But what will happen if we make it an individual person to pay for the education? They'll end up not acquiring education, which is the basic requirement to earn a living in the society today. Now, I want to say that privatizing education will just lead to the competition in the world of schools. Reason this way. Most of the private sectors are after profit. Education, is it a profit-making business, or is it to transform our country from a third world country to a first world country? So, my friends, think and think big before you start saying that we privatize the education. Thank you.
Thank you, audience. The proposers have been asked, if we were to privatize education, does that mean we'll be locking out people who cannot afford private schools from getting an education? And the opposition have been asked, between those who develop their talent and those who go the education route, who ends up becoming more financially stable, making money? We'll have them respond to those queries. Proposal number 3, you have 3 minutes.
What's the longest time that a human being can live? Probably 80. 90, or even 100. That's how long our minister, Honorable Matiang'i, can live. Thanks to him, we have had good public schools. They have become better. But he's not here forever. We should understand that. My name is Yapsira Tekle from Our Lady of Consolata Mugoiri Girls, and I am here to strongly propose the motion that says education should be privatized. And I will answer the question that has just been asked, and we're here not to complain about the amount of money we're investing in our kids. This is the part where a parent should know their duty to their children. When you give birth to your child, you knew that you're going to spend your lifetime working for them. We should not forget that. Aside from this, we should also understand that by privatizing this doesn't mean that you will necessarily go to a school that you will pay for. We have schools started by NGOs. We have schools that are started by missionaries, and you do not pay a single penny for those schools. For all the public school students that we have in this place, I believe that you also pay a specific amount of money in your schools. Now, do you want to tell me that your school is free of charge, that you pay 0 shillings in your school? Is that what you're trying to tell me? No. The highest amount that the government can pay for you is probably, I said probably, 3,000, 2,000 shillings, or even 1,000 and something shillings. That's the highest amount that the government pays for each student in a public school. So what are you telling me? You're telling me that we have free education? That's just totally wrong. Now, I would not insist so much on that because I believe you have understood me clear. Too many cooks spoil the broth. We have so many officials in our government working in the Ministry of Education, and yet we do not see them in our schools. The Honorable Matiang'i does not know my class teacher. The Honorable Matiang'i does not know my PE teacher. They know no one from our school. But still, all these people in between, what do? They steal their money, they embezzle the funds, and yet still again, we end up suffering. We should privatize our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
Education should be privatized. Nora Mashada from Kangubiri Girls High School, here to oppose this motion. First of all, answering to the question that had been asked, the question posed was between an educated person and a person who is not learned, who earns more? Well, I think that depends on the hard work input by either sides. So I don't think that has anything to do with privatization of education or not. Thank you. On to my first point. We could say that private schools live a lie. Why? Private schools are spoon-fed. Last year, in 2015, we had cases of cheating. Exam cheating was very rampant in private schools. But in 2016, through the help of His Honorable Matiang'i, we see that things got better. And how many private schools led the country that last year? A question, a food for thought. Thirdly, privatizing education will only continue the poverty cycle in the country. The gap between the rich and the poor right now is there, it's existent. But privatizing education will only mean that we continue widening the gap. We speak of an age of equality, but there can be no equality when we do not start from the roots. Right now, it's absurd to think that we can privatize education while our country's economy is deteriorating. A kilo of ugali goes for 180 shillings. Shall we feed our children, or shall we give them privatized education? Education should not be a money-making business. By this I mean, privatizing education will only mean that will only concentrate on quantity and not quality education. Yes, our children will get this privatized education, but at the end of it, all the managers of the school will have this urge of making more money from our students. Privatizing education will mean that parents can control what their children want to learn, not what they ought to learn. But in public schools, they are taught everything from A to Z, not like in private schools where the parents control, my children cannot take French, my children cannot make all these subjects. Thank you.
Okay, ladies, your turn. You have 1 minute.
We need better results, because we can run this country for over years, decades, and millennium. We're not saying the government is not doing their work. We just need better results. We just need to stop working for mediocrity. We just need to improve in every sector that we do. We need to start developing, and we need to start developing real fast. Our opponent's school motto says that for excellence, God guides. Our school motto says that you are the light. You need to walk in the light if you need excellence. And that is why we stand for that education should be privatized. We rest our case.
Opposition, you have 1 minute as well.
Masu Wanjiko, Kangubiri Girls, my opponents, I want to inform you that we are not saying that education will go back to where it was just because Matiang'i will go out of the position. For your information, he has just been a pace setter for the others to follow the example which he has set. Then we are not saying that we need free education that we pay nothing. What we are saying is we need cost sharing between the government and the poor people in the country. As we know, our country has progressive type of tax, whereby the rich are taxed more than the poor. Therefore, they'll help the poor in meeting the public sector what they cannot afford. Therefore, I close by saying that Nelson Mandela said that education is the greatest weapon that we can use to fight poverty. What will happen if we privatize education and many will not afford? Therefore, our country will live to be a third world country.
Mugoiri girls, the three debaters, I would say are excellent, cool, calm, and composed, with very well-maintained pitch of voice, which I think worked to your favor. Well-researched points that you have given unto us. But I would appeal to especially Jedida to work on your eye contact. You somehow avoided looking at the audience, so next time make sure that you work on that. Evelyn and Tekle, your eye contact was okay, you are good. You are well audible without being unnecessarily too loud.
Kangubiri, mother, you did well, but you did not even define motion. So, Mercy, the same emotions, you need to tame them, you need to prepare enough, and the same goes for Nora. In fact, you even had some incomplete arguments. The thoughts were not well developed. One plus, maybe about Mugoiri that I've always seen in the past debates, your composure works for you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. I think we'll begin with Mugoiri girls. The judges awarded you 69.5%. Please give them a round of applause. Kangubiri, the judges awarded you 67%, making Mugoiri girls the winners of this debate. Let's give them a round of applause, please.
Thank you very much to the teams on stage and our studio audience for being very active. Our viewers back home, stay tuned to KBC Channel 1. Engage us on social media, #GDC for SDGs. Thank you to Safaricom Blaze. And I have been your host, Austin Yambok.
I'm Mariam Bishar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.